Mugak believed that the best form of revenge against the Kyan family was through money. He knew that a vast fortune would be inherited upon Kyan Taeson's death, and he planned to claim it all for himself. To achieve this, he realized he would need to secretly gather funds to fight against anyone who might stand in his way, all while ensuring the Kyan family remained unaware of his plans. As these thoughts consumed him, his grandfather asked, "Tell me, why did you want to meet me?" Mugak replied that he needed to borrow some money. His grandfather looked at him skeptically, thinking, so it all comes down to money after all. In the end, he's just another pathetic one. He then asked Mugak how much money he needed. Mugak explained that his grandmother, who had raised him for 17 years, now needed heart surgery, for which he required 10 million won. Additionally, he requested 1 million won each month to cover his tuition fees and living expenses until his graduation. His grandfather considered this, asking for 10 million won up front and then 1 million won every month before agreeing to give it to him. However, internally, he thought, he didn't even have the guts to ask for more. He just called me here for chump change. Mugak quickly added that he wasn't asking for these things for free, he was merely borrowing them. After a brief pause, his grandfather laughed sarcastically, thinking, "Look at this boy. He can't even afford interest, and yet he's asking me to lend him money for school and other expenses." His grandfather, still deep in thought, said, "It's not hard to get a loan, but loan sharks won't just let you borrow money for nothing. You'll have to pay it back. Do you have any collateral or some credibility?" Mugak responded confidently, "Are you asking about my collateral?" "My mind is my collateral," he said, pointing to his head. His grandfather looked at him, startled by his boldness. Mugak continued, "If you lend me the money, I'll attend Korea University Law School, and I'll use that as collateral to pay the principal and interest." His grandfather continued to watch him intently as Mugak thought to himself, "In my previous life, he told me to do this, but this time, it's my offer." Kyan Taeson had a strong desire for academic achievement, but due to his poverty, he couldn't attain a proper education. As he grew older and his business expanded, he became more obsessed with his children's academic success. However, despite spending large sums of money, his children, Kyan Suman and Kyan Jan, barely managed to get into universities. Despite their best efforts, they struggled to succeed. Even though Mugak's mother had been accepted into a prestigious university, she eventually dropped out and abandoned that path. Mugak thought that his grandfather's desire for academic success could be an attractive proposition, one that might help alleviate his inferiority complex regarding his educational background. Grandpa looked at Mugak and pondered how serious he was about getting into Korea University Law School. However, he wondered how he could be sure, as he had heard that Mugak's grades were not good enough for admission. Was Mugak just bluffing? Grandpa asked him, "How confident are you about this? What if you fail?" Mugak glanced at him and thought, he has a slight advantage, but it's not guaranteed. For now, I need to go along with Grandpa's interest as much as possible. He then said, "If I don't get into the university, I'll give up my head and body." Isn't that enough? Grandpa considered the idea of him giving up his body and then said, "All right, that's enough." Mugak responded, "But if I do pass, you might have to give me a present to congratulate me." Grandpa asked, "A present? Is there something else you want?" Mugak replied, "I will tell you that after I get into law school. I am planning on asking for a huge gift." A look of seriousness initially crossed Grandpa's face, but then he thought it over, a faint smile appearing as he said, "All right, I'll be waiting. I can't wait to see what kind of gift you'll ask for. But if you fail, I promise you belong to me, and you'll do exactly what I tell you, things that will make even the devil tremble in fear." As Grandpa's sinister side spoke, Mugak said, "All right, Grandfather." The car sped up, and Mugak watched it racing away. Standing there with anger, he muttered, "This old geezer just wanted to scare me. As he stood on the school grounds, he thought, I'll turn them into fiends, grinding them into pieces, just as the Cayenne family wanted. The car raced down the road, and inside, Grandpa said to the director, he was a fun boy. The director replied, I was shocked too, since he was different from the reports I got. Cayenne Tayson remarked, I've met a lot of people in business, those who don't pay back and boldly come back asking for more. They even bring gangsters trying to threaten me. And those who threaten to kill me end up driving a knife into their bellies. Even people who waste their children for money. After dealing with such people for a long time, you get an idea of what kind of person someone is just from the first glance, their eyes, expressions, body language, and tone. But I'm clueless about him. I feel like he's judging me. The director noted, it seems like you like him. As the director continued driving, he listened to Grandpa's voice. Grandpa rested his head on the car seat and closed his eyes, calling out his daughter's name, Mizzen, and then mentioned Dian Bowen Hospital. The director looked at him in surprise. Now the scene shifted to Dian Hospital. Mugak asked the doctor, please take care of my grandmother. The doctor replied, don't worry so much. This isn't a very difficult surgery. Mugak glanced at the operating theater where surgery in progress was displayed. He then walked through the hospital corridor, hearing a voice behind him, hey, Kong Mugak. He turned around and saw Park Dong-soo. Park Dong-soo wrapped an arm around Mugak's shoulder and teased, Kong Mugak, deliberately mispronouncing his name, are you going to school every day, eating 3 meals a day? You seem busy. If not, how about going up to the rooftop to smoke with me? Mugak suddenly became concerned and said, are you seriously saying all this to a high school student? I'm busy. I need to study. Park Dong-soo shouted, what are you talking about? Study? You said you wanted to study? Have all the fun you can while you're young. He shoved his hand into his pocket, pulled out a pack, and said, all right, if you want to study, I won't call you back. Park Dong-soo handed him some gum and said, if you feel sleepy, just chew this. See you later. He handed the gum to Mugak and walked away. Mugak, gripping the string of his bag, thought, at this point, Park Dong-soo is a well-known second-in-command of a gang that commands 100 members, but unexpectedly, he seemed pretty amusing. Soon, when war and crime are declared, Park Dong-soo will be dead. Suddenly, Mugak looked out the corridor window and saw some men getting out of a car, one of them holding a knife. Startled, as they entered the hospital, Mugak adjusted his direction and focused on them as they passed by. Mugak thought, Park Dong-soo isn't dying today. It seems I'll need to get him on my side. At the hospital reception, 3 men suddenly arrived and asked, where is the ward of a guy named Park Dong-soo? He directed his question to the girl at the reception, holding a box in his hand. The girl glanced at the box as the man placed it on the counter. She then asked, what's your relationship with the patient, sir? The man replied irritably, are you blind? I'm here to meet him. As he said this, Mugak approached from behind and asked, bending slightly, sir, are you asking about brother Dong-soo? I'm Dong-soo's younger brother. I'll take you to his ward. The 3 men looked at him in surprise but remained silent. Mugak, observing the scene, said sternly, how dare you punks cause a commotion in this hospital while my grandmother is in surgery? Get out of here. He then led them out of the hospital corridor and into the yard, positioning himself with his back turned towards them. One of the men, who seemed to be the leader, spoke up, what a nuisance. Where are you bringing us? Mugak turned halfway, casting a sharp glance at them, and asked, are you guys planning to kill Park Dong-soo? At that moment, another man pulled out a knife and angrily demanded, who the hell are you, bastard? Mugak adjusted himself, preparing for a fight, and the 3 men advanced towards him, thinking he was just a kid. Just then, another voice interrupted, what are you guys doing? It was Park Dong-soo. He shouted, you gangsters have no shame, pointing a knife at a high schooler like that. As one of the three men approached Dongsu, he swung his fist at Dongsu's face. However, Dongsu blocked the punch with his forehead, causing the man's hand to turn red as he winced in pain. Dongsu, with a calm and composed demeanor, kept his hands in his pockets and swiftly kicked the man to the ground. He then followed up with a punch to the man's head, knocking him down. The remaining three men watched in astonishment as Dongsu, exuding confidence, removed his shirt. The man holding the knife stepped forward, brandishing it as he advanced toward Dongsu. As the knife came toward him, Dongsu dodged it skillfully and knocked the man down with a powerful kick. He then grabbed the man by his hair and dragged him to the side where another goon held that guy. Dongsu, wearing sandals, kicked the man in the face with his left sandal, who was holding his colleague, causing his nose to turn red. Without losing his composure, Dongsu moved toward the man who attacked him with a knife and delivered a fierce kick to his ribs with his feet, causing both men who had been supporting each other to fall to the ground. The third man, seething with anger, grabbed a nearby glass window frame and charged at Dongsu. As the man attempted to strike Dongsu with the window, Dongsu threw a punch through the glass, shattering it, and delivered a blow to the man's face, sending him crashing to the ground. Mugak observed the entire scene, standing there as they walked through the hallway. Dongsu remarked, "This is refreshing. I've beaten these guys recently before when we fought over a border." Dongsu added, "I knew they would come looking for me while I was in the hospital." Dongsu remembered that thought about the scene when these gangsters entered the hospital. Dongsu's assistant, who had witnessed the entire scene, exchanged a glance with Mugak. The assistant understood and went to inform Dongsu. Dongsu then said to Mugak, "I had already kept an eye on them, but you brought them here. You've got some guts, not even flinching when they pulled a knife on you." Mugak responded, "I wasn't scared because I knew you would come. I even noticed that your underlings were guarding the hospital." Mugak could not intervene, but he knew that it would have been the outcome. Park Dongsu would have easily overpowered them. After this, Park Dongsu put his arm around Mugak's neck and said, "I still owe you. Do you think I'll let you go so easily? Tell me one of your desires, and I'll give you whatever you want. Do you want money or women?" Mugak, with suspicious eyes, looked at him, thinking, Park Dongsu will be the first tool in my plan. I have to make him mine. Mugak said, "Take your closest men and hide somewhere for 3 months." Dongsu, irritated, asked, "What are you talking about? I'm asking what you want, and you're spouting nonsense. Why should I hide?" Mugak replied, "The president will soon declare a war against crime and order a nationwide arrest of all criminal organizations." Dongsu was shocked by what he heard and repeated in disbelief, "War against crime?" In 1990, the president issued a special decree to shift public criticism and the political situation due to various corruptions that had occurred under different regimes. A crackdown was initiated on 5 major crimes. In previous years, the president announced that next month it would reach a second level, a large-scale operation to eliminate criminal organizations and those small ones connected to these major organizations. Mugak advised Dongsu to keep the location secret and not to let other members of the same organization know, especially being careful of his boss, Lin. Dongsu was shocked by Mugak's words and looked at him in surprise. As Mugak was leaving, he said, "That's my wish." Dongsu watched him go, lost in thought about what had just been said. Mugak, on the other hand, was thinking that it was now up to Dongsu to decide. If Dongsu survived, he would surely be of use to Mugak one day. A month later, inside a house in Jeran Mountain, a TV was showing a report. The report stated that the war against crime had been declared and would eradicate criminal organizations. The Constitution had granted the president full authority to eliminate these organizations. It was October 13, 1990, and the announcement of the war against crime was being broadcast. 3 men were sitting in front of the TV, watching the news. One of them asked, "What is happening?" The second man, holding a newspaper, read aloud, every prosecutor and police officer has been mobilized, and all the organizations in Bu have been arrested. Even Sion, they were all gangsters. Their conversation was overheard by Dongsu, who was sitting to the side. Then these men headed toward Dongsu. Dongsu told them, "Don't do anything. Stay here and don't move around. This will cause unnecessary trouble. Understand?" They responded, "Yes, boss." Dongsu picked up the newspaper and looked at it, thinking, "What is happening? This is exactly what that kid said." Dongsu read the newspaper and thought back to the moment when he had asked Mugak if he was speaking nonsense and if he might as well wish for reunification. Mugak replied that this wish would be fulfilled by Germany, not by us. Dongsu saw the date in the newspaper, October 3, 1990, marking the solitary reunification by Germany. Dongsu was shocked and surprised by this revelation, realizing what kind of person Mugak was. Inside the apartment, Mugak told his grandmother, Grandpa was pretty quick in handling everything. His grandmother responded, "Mugak," but he interrupted her, saying, "Don't say anything. I've received this from Grandpa, who has come to see us after 17 years. I've also received living expenses from him, so you don't need to work anymore." His grandmother expressed her doubts, saying, "I don't know if this is right for me to take something like this." Mugak reassured her, "You've been through so much while raising me. You deserve more. Just wait a little longer. I'll make you more comfortable. Just take care of your health." His grandmother looked at him with concern, but before she could respond, Mugak's two friends entered the room, beaming with happiness. They congratulated Grandma, saying, "Congratulations. You've been discharged." Grandma looked at them joyfully and asked, "Look who's here." Mugak's friend, Minsu, added, "Look, Grandma, we brought pork belly for you. We'll grill the meat and enjoy the feast." Mugak was pleased to see this, and soon they all sat down on the floor to prepare for the meal. The scene shifted to Mugak with his two friends walking to school. Minsu commented that there was pleasant weather, but he said the fact that they were getting the results of their tests was weighing heavily on him. Ham, walking alongside, laughed at the situation, which only fueled Minsu's irritation. He started arguing with Ham, saying, "Don't laugh. You're no different from me." Ham said to him, "What are you talking about? I'm better than you. At least I ranked among the top 500 out of 520 students." Mugak continued, "Get out of here. I'm telling you, don't show off on me." Ham then approached Mugak and asked, "How did your test go? You studied pretty hard for this." Mugak replied, "I've just improved a bit, but still need to work harder." Mugak thought it was a bit challenging to return to education after so many years, but he managed to do a pretty good job. As they entered the classroom, another classmate approached Mugak and said, "Did you hear? You got the first position in the exam." Mugak was shocked and asked, "Are you serious?" The classmate confirmed, "Yes, I heard it from the teacher's office this morning." At that moment, another student entered through a different door and informed Mugak, "Our homeroom teacher is calling you to the office." Minsu, surprised, asked Mugak, "What's happening? It seems like you are getting a prize or something. Hurry up and go to the teacher's office." Inside the teacher's office, the teacher asked, "Do you know why I called you here?" Mugak was confused and saw the teacher suddenly stand up and slap Mugak across the face. Mugak's friends, watching through the window, were stunned and angry at the sight. The teacher then asked, "I will ask you once again, do you not know why I called you here?" Mugak responded, "No, I don't know." The teacher slapped him again and questioned, "What did you do in the exam? Did you cheat or something? Why are you now at the top of the second semester when you were at the bottom during the first semester?" Mugak looked at the teacher, noticing the marks of the slap on his face. The teacher was doing this because there was a reason behind his actions. Recalling an incident from a few days ago, Mugak and the teacher were sitting in the office. The teacher had mentioned that he had heard the person who came to school in a foreign car was Mugak's grandfather. The teacher told him that it was the right thing for his grandfather and that he should meet him since he was Mugak's homeroom teacher. Mugak's anger flared as he thought, what a wretched animal abuser. He devoted to being a piece of trash for more than I remember. Mugak responded to the teacher, my grandfather lives in Seoul. If you want to meet him, go to Seoul. The teacher questioned, will he come back again to meet you? Mugak stood and bowed slightly in front of the teacher. Meanwhile, the teacher said, talk to him about me when he again comes to meet you. Before he even finished speaking, Mugak said, if you're done, I will take my leave now. The exam is in a few days. That's why Mugak began to leave the office, heading towards the door. From behind, the teacher raised his finger, calling out his name. In the teacher's office, the teacher swung his cane and said, did you cheat on the exam, or was it only you and others who helped you? Mugak firmly responded, no, sir, I didn't cheat. The teacher rolled up his sleeve, showing his cane, and said, look at that bastard. I let you go when you created troubles, and now you dare to mess with the school exams. Did your grandmother teach you this? Mugak thought, he is crossing the line. It's damn annoying. As he stared at the teacher said, why are you glaring at me? I will gouge your eyes out. Mugak said, whether I work hard or cheat, what does it have to do with my grandfather? Apologize now. The teacher slapped him again and said, are you crazy? He grabbed Mugak's exam paper and declared, I don't even need to check this. I'll mark it 0 for cheating. The teacher ripped the paper and laughed, starting today, you will be indefinitely suspended. I still want to expel you. Mugak said, do you want to bet with me? The teacher, surprised, asked, what bet? Mugak said, for this exam, I'll solve any questions you give me, just like I did in the exam. If I don't get the same score. The staff around the teacher looked at Mugak in astonishment. Mugak added, I'll drop out of school myself. But if I get the highest score, you'll have to resign from the school. The entire staff in the teacher's office and the students outside were amazed. The teacher picked up his cane and said, you arrogant little piece of. Mugak then grabbed the cane, preparing to hit him. Mugak said, what happened? Are you not confident? And shouted, bring me the test papers. The test began in the office. Mugak sat at the table while the other boys watched from outside, astonished. Mugak was done with the other subjects, and the teacher, holding the test paper, saw the perfect scores in every subject and was shocked. Another teacher came over and said, Mr. Park, if he has taken the English paper right, his score will be perfect in every subject. Mugak said from behind, I'm on the last question now. If I get this right, you will leave the school forever. If you don't keep your promise and continue coming to school, don't expect me to treat you as a teacher. The teacher, listening to Mugak's words, was stunned. The students and Mugak's friends outside were also surprised. Mugak said, if you apologize to me now, I'll stop solving the questions. A teacher, enraged, asked, what's this about? At that moment, the vice principal arrived and said, stop right now. That's enough, Mr. Park. Stop this. Kim Mugak, that's enough. You've proven you didn't cheat, so stop now. The vice principal told the teacher, you should also apologize. You should praise him on how he achieved such high scores. The teacher, irritated, listened as the rest of the staff watched in surprise. The teacher stood up and apologized to Mugak, I misunderstood you. Mugak placed his pencil on the exam paper, slightly bowed, and said, I'm going back to my classroom. As Mugak left the office, the boys cheered for Mugak, thrilled by the turn of events. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and like the video as a sign that you would like for me to continue.